we should mention what's going on in Palestine right now, because there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about. First it is that the fact that Israel is bombing Rafah, like as we record this, and this is coming on the heels of a week in which we've seen like the complete obliteration of all healthcare infrastructure in Gaza and the direct targeting of both the infrastructure and individuals who would be tasked with distributing aid, like the Gaza police force. I just saw a video of a drone sniping just four people walking across a field who are totally unarmed. And and this also comes on the heels of what it was supposedly like the big dust up in Israeli American relations this past week, which is senior Democrat Chuck Schumer giving a speech in which he said Netanyahu has to go. And this is all being heralded as like, oh, what a significant break it is, and I suppose in some sense it is, but would you agree with me that this is all just like kayfabe to keep this massacre going? Because like sacrificing Netanyahu on the altar of public opinion has long been like the Democratic stock and trade in their PR. Is that like you can criticize Netanyahu's government, but it's only because you love Israel so much. And Schumer himself said as much.
Netanyahu's the best thing that ever happened to liberal Zionists. They get to pretend that there's one maligned Trump-like figure that's making Israel bad, and not that like 80% of the country would volunteer to work in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
I mean, and then also there's the ongoing fallout over Jonathan Glazer's acceptance speech at the Oscars, where he said he rejects Judaism being conscripted as part of this effort to perpetuate an occupation and dehumanization of millions of people. And I know you all saw the hilarious open letter signed by literally hundreds of has-been actors and no talents, but like that letter was, I mean, including of course our good friend Michael Rappaport, who signed the letter as actor/disruptor.
He is literally a disruptive president.
Yeah. He's disrupted many subway cars and street corners for throughout his entire career.
Yeah, when I'm trying to buy a Yankee fitted for me and my son, he comes in and buys the whole store. It disrupts my nice time with my kid.
But I mean, I guess like the thing that's going on right now, at least the thing that I'm seeing in the press and in people's reactions to like what is an ongoing slaughter that just has not and will not be stopped, least of all by our current government. But it seems to me like we're replaying like a lot of the arguments that were basically hashed out like 3 or 4 months ago. Like, have you guys noticed that like people are beginning to like question the Gaza Health Ministry's death tolls again? Like, we like, I thought this was like pretty much well established when Biden he like months ago questioned their veracity and then had to walk it back. And I really feel like, like the intensity of the killing is such that like, this is the only thing they have left to say is like, oh, like, most of them were Hamas or, like you can't really trust their numbers, but like this shit just continues to keep happening.
Yeah. I keep having this argument that I had on Christmas Eve with my dad in my head, because we were talking about this stuff and he was like, I brought up the hospitals and he was like, well, wait a minute. That was a Hamas rocket that hit that hospital. And I was like, that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I said, I hate this family. And I drove out. I went to the liquor store. I slammed the door and I drove to the liquor store with my brother. But yeah, it's crazy. It's like the same. They're going back to the old stuff.
And like, like I said, like they've now completely, I mean, I was reading reports of just mass executions around the Al-Shifa hospital complex. Now the entire surgical wing of that hospital has been destroyed. And once again, what do I see by people defending this? They say it's well known that the tunnels are underneath the hospital or a terrorist command center. It's like the lies have like you can only tell the same lie so many times, but like in I guess in their estimation or their calculation, they can tell the same lies many times as they need to because they know that the press will back them up.
Yeah, I feel like in 10 years you're going to be able to like play as Hamas in Call of Duty. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, but like I guess it's just the Chuck Schumer thing as well. Like there's a big New York Times article about what a painful decision it was for him, and it's just like I don't give a shit. Like until Chuck Schumer starts talking about cutting off their fucking the money and weapons spigot or refunding UNRWA, then none of this shit means anything. They're simply trying to protect Biden from the consequences of his own actions among Democratic voters.
Yeah, a friend of mine was riding a city bike in Brooklyn, and he said he saw Chuck Schumer walking, and he like confronted him, and he said like, "Listen, my conscience is telling me I have to tell you to do something about what's happening in Gaza." And Schumer was like, "Well, what do you do about Hamas?" And I feel like that's the most we can do is just like harass these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He should have like just called them ugly or something.
The Hamas thing is like, it may as well be fucking immaterial because they're doing the exact same thing in the West Bank, which is by no means controlled by Hamas. That completely, invalidates the idea that this is about Hamas at all. No, there's just zero consistency here.
What would I do about Hamas? Well, now that you ask, Mr. Schumer, I would bring them
Yeah,
into the tent. I'd rather have them in the tent pissing out than outside the tent
yeah, you got to
pissing
be
in. Yeah, you got
fair.
to be. It's a big tent party, and I think we can accommodate Hamas.
How I would deal with Hamas is I would give them the first F-22 that America has ever exported.